Aren't airbrushes great? You have an airbrush, you have a compressor, and it means you can paint your armies way faster. It's so cool, it's so convenient. Buy something like this, you shove it under your desk, you turn it on and off, and then when it gets up to pressure, it turns itself off. And sometimes, like this one, it turns itself off and then never turns back on and gets really hot. So hot, you could probably cook an egg on it. It is kind of working. It's gone right there. Because that's right, this airbrush compressor is broken. So I need to buy myself a new one. I've always bought just like this type, like the medium-sized cheap one on Amazon. But what else is available on Amazon? So today I bought the cheapest and most expensive airbrush compressor I could find on Amazon to tell you which one to buy. So the first one I ordered is Airbrush System. This is quite worst packaging ever. It's not even shut properly. There's actually a sticker on here which lets you know that it's the Toppinken Airbrush Kit Recharge. The Toppinken Airbrush Kit rechargeable cordless mini airbrush compressor with portable water oxygen sprayer nano mist sprayer device. So that's the first one. And it was £10.77. So by far the cheapest airbrush system I've ever seen. You know, I don't think this is Toppinken. I think this is whoever will order it that day, and then that'll be the brand for it. Okay, it doesn't turn on, so I think the battery's dead. It is USB-C, and it comes with an airbrush. It does have O-rings. The O-ring is way too big, as you can see. Let's go paint. I guess I can't paint because I've got to charge it, so... So today we're going to be playing one of these Ravage Star Marines, a Veil Touched. I've primed it grey to start with, and I'm going to paint it like a classic spray it pink, spray yellow ink over the top, because I've always wanted to try that out. This compressor has two modes. It has on or off. That's it. Yeah, let's try Squid Pink. It's an air paint. We'll put some pink in there. It is an awful spray, as you can see, but here we go. Okay, we have a pink model, okay? We've sprayed it. Does that mean it's done a good job? The white is always bad to spray. Oh dear God. It is sputtering like crazy. Here we go, try again. I mean, that's probably the best we're gonna get, so here goes. Oh, it is so thin, so now it's gonna take ages to apply anything. It's already blocked. God, it's taking forever. Okay, I think that's the best I'm gonna get. It's kind of working. I think it's working. Kinda. Doing that thing again where it's blocked. I mean, the effect has worked. Like, look at, that's why it's pink, and that's why it's yellow, and it's got like that cool half and half, like orange to yellow warmth. But I feel like that's more in spite of the airbrush rather than the airbrush. So I'm gonna let this dry, add a few quick details just so you can see the contrast of the yellow, and then I'll give you my full review of the £10.77. I can't even remember the brand. Whilst I start painting those details, let's hear a word from today's sponsor, Warmag. Listen, Wargamers, you know how important it is to protect your miniatures, whether it's because they're on a shelf and you don't want them to get knocked off, or little fingers or our pets get into them, or you're traveling to your next big game. I take miniatures to tournaments all the time. I need something quick that's going to protect my miniatures and they're not going to get damaged when I'm taking them in and out of the case. That's where Warmag.com come in. Warmag specialize in magnetic storage solutions in really useful boxes. They make a whole range of themed designs for magnetic sheets that stick into really useful boxes, and they make magnetic discs that are perfect for sticking underneath the base that fit flush, and they're super easy to apply with just self-adhesive and custom cut for a whole bunch of popular wargaming bases. All you do is pop them out, peel off the self-adhesive and stick them onto the bottom, and then you're ready to start transporting your miniatures safely and securely. And these magnets are strong. Once they're in, your models aren't really going to move about unless you're really trying to. And just to prove how strong these magnets are, this is only held on with 140mm and 128mm on one side. And even with just those two, maybe I should stick a few more on, but the point stands. See? Without knocking him. You know? He's still not going anywhere.
They also sell 3 different sizes of case. They have the 4 litre, which is great for small to medium size infantry. You've got the 9 litre, which is the same size but much taller for larger monsters or cavalry, etc. And now they do the 9 litre XL version, which has a huge tall lid for extremely tall miniatures like giants, knights, etc. or anything really, just anything that's really tall. As I said, they come with a load of custom designs, or they come plain if that's what you prefer, and you are just paying for convenience. I am a Warmag believer, and I have like hundreds of models all on the Warmag system. There's like 27 armies now that I've converted all using Warmag, and it actually didn't even take me that long. So if you want convenience delivery right to your door to protect your miniatures, to transport to the next big game, the next big tournament, without the fear of having the paint jobs damaged or anything broken, then you can use my link in the description to warmag.com, and you can also use code Hellstorm at checkout for 10% off your order. As I said, use my link because one, it really helps me out, it helps Warmag out, and if you use code Hellstorm, you get 10% off. Warmag are a fantastic company to work with, and I'm just like a huge convert, but I think proof is in the pudding. You can store so much in these boxes, and again, I've just got like, I think I've got like 50 boxes now full of miniatures, all using Warmag. So thank you very much to Warmag for sponsoring this video, and let's get back to Airbrush Compressors.
So I've done a quick paint job. It's looking fine, you know. The shading on the yellow looks cool. The streaking grind worked really nicely. But I've got to do the eyes, and for the eyes, for the ultimate test, I'm going to do object source lighting. So I painted it white, and all I need to do is spray a little bit of contrast just quickly over the eye to make it look like it's glowing. So here we go. Okay, I think that's all I'm getting. So I'm just going to quickly varnish it and show you the glamour shots.
What can I say about the Toppinken airbrush kit, rechargeable cordless mini air compressor, airbrush portable water oxygen spray and nano mist sprayer device? Look, I'm going to be trying to be charitable. If you don't have an airbrush or an airbrush compressor and you want to try it out, or you want to you have like one Space Marine with one plasma pistol, right? You've got a whole army, you got one plasma pistol, and that one plasma pistol, you want to put on some object source lighting to make it look kind of cool. Yes, I can recommend you spending £10 to paint a single model. However, as airbrushers go, it is awful, and as compressors go, it's even worse. The best thing about what came in that parcel in this box with this airbrush is the USB cable to charge my phone, and if I never have to use this airbrush again, it'll be too soon. On to package 2. Number 2 is the Owasa AK2 airbrush set. The first feature is, you can see what it is on the box. At the time of filming, it's actually £68, but I actually paid £44 for this. This is my middle brand one, or like one of my cheapest ones. It's like not sealed, it's not plastic wrapped. It's kind of like the thing, like electronic device you buy from like Skeggy Market, that type of vibe before I open it. Mains powered, and what it also has an adjustable nozzle. Okay, so we've already got more than one setting. Oh, a nice little resealable box. Oh, what did I drop? Oh, everything. So overall, construction's quite nice, but obviously we don't really care about this too much. We're more bothered about this because we can put anything on this, because this has a traditional attachment rather than a fixed attachment like the previous one we just looked at. So with this compressor, no matter what, you should be able to put pretty much any airbrush on there as long as you get an attachment that'll fit this hose. The size of these are pretty standardized, so I'm not sure 100% the size. If I do find out, it'll be on screen right now. But let's go and plug this in and try it out.
And what I quite like, if you keep this plastic lid, you can actually store your airbrush there. And then you got this little orange switch at the side, and then you got your adjust here. So this is like on the lowest setting, I believe. So if you go much lower, it'll just start leaking, I think. So like there, that's leaking, so that's too low. So you do the opposite, tighten up, and that's your lowest pressure. I'm not 100% sure what PSI we're working with at this point, but... So for this next test, now I did obviously got a free airbrush with this compressor, but the other two we're going to be testing today, this is actually really annoying. The other two we're going to be testing today don't come with an airbrush, so I'm going to move over to the Galleri Premium Mobius, which is a 0.3 nozzle. This is my usual airbrush, so obviously we're going to frown upon the first airbrush because it had such a crap airbrush with it, but this one at least we can use on all three of the next ones so we can truly test them out. So let's try and paint this guy in the exact same style. So the first thing is, with like quick releases like this, you're bound to get leaks. What's going to mean is this compressor, while it's on and off all the time, because it doesn't have a very large tank, it's probably going to be staying on for most of the time unless I unplug. Already, we've got a much wider spray, which is nice. We're using a 0.3. I believe the other one was 0.2, but it's very consistent. The airflow is very, very consistent. So already you can probably tell a difference. One, I've got a nice even base coat, which took me half the time that it did with the really cheap one. And two, I've got the permanent fixture rather than the quick release on the airbrush. So now it's quiet. I'm going to try and turn in the pressure down. So already I can get much nicer control. I've got like much more precise application of the paint. Now a lot of that is going to come down to the airbrush, but the fact that I have the controllers already, you can see it's not like spattering paint everywhere. Because the thinner you are, the closer you are, that's when you get the spider web, right? We don't want that. We want smooth transition. But as you can see, it's a lot more controlled. There's a lot less overspray, especially like on the weapons and the other things that aren't gonna be yellow. Now in this instance, it doesn't really matter because I'm spraying with an ink and then painting over anyway. But if you are airbrushing armor and you're not going in with an ink, you can be a lot more precise. But the consistent flow from this compressor, which I'm actually really impressed with so far, I'm not having to like be miles away. I'm not having to thin the paint loads because I've got like that high pressure coming through. But the other problem is it's getting warm and it's kind of annoying because it's sat next to me. As you see, I've got it a lot higher now and I can be hauled further back, get a nice even coat, but very, very quickly. Because of you're not getting that huge blowout trying to do the white because of the crap air, the gradients are a lot more hard. You can see like the gradient contrast like next to each other really sharply because I've got so much more control over the paint than I did with the 10-pound compressor. It's just getting better results. So it's like speed and better results is what we're kind of like achieving here.
So I was ready to kind of dump on this one, but I'm actually like a little bit impressed. It has its issues, it has its flaws, but the fact is that it's small, it goes on the table, it doesn't take up a lot of space. It's relatively cheap with a free airbrush and just kind of works. The issue I have with it is it's constantly on, you know, and the control for the airflow is a little limited. It obviously has this dial, so you can turn it up or turn it down. If you turn it too low, it just runs all the time, so that's kind of annoying. And the high pressure compared to the low pressure, it doesn't feel like there's very much difference. I don't know what the PSI difference is, but it's just like the vibe I get. It feels relatively like the difference between the highest and lowest is relatively small. However, if I just wanted to start airbrushing, this is actually a really nice little system. So rather than going out and going, I've got to buy an airbrush, I've never bought an airbrush before, I've got to spend 100, 200, 300 quid on a compressor and another 100, 200, 300 quid on an airbrush to actually use with the compressor. This is a nice starting point, and this is probably now what I would recommend if you've never airbrushed before and now you want to get into it. Yeah, you could use the 10-pound hand thing to spray some plasma, but this you can actually go ahead and paint because the airflow is quite good. It's not crazy loud. It is a bit annoying when it's next to you. It's not crazy loud, and it just kind of works. So this is the one I'd normally purchase. This is the Airgoo Luxury Airbrush Compressor AG326 with 2 cooling fans, regulator, moisture trap, for hobby, food decoration, tattoo, graphic, and so on. But this is quite a chunky piece. The first thing you'll notice is the size. It is obviously a lot larger than the previous one, and it's probably going to run a little bit louder. What you have is a compressor on top, with a pipe connecting it to this tank at the bottom. What this compressor is going to do is pump the tank up with air, and then the air is going to expand it out there to your airbrush. The difference with this, it'll be constantly keeping the tank up to pressure, but it won't constantly be on while you're spraying. It's going to allow you to spray some of the air, and then it's going to fill up the tank again. It also comes with a huge moisture trap on the end. Obviously, depending where you live, what the sort of humidity or whatever, because you're constantly bringing in air, this is going to fill with condensation. You're going to have humidity in the air that's going to fill in here. And what this does, it helps trap the moisture on the way out. So when you are spraying, you don't get old, rusty, horrible water going straight up your air pipe, straight to the airbrush and straight onto the model. It also comes with this little bit as well, that after a little bit of time, if you are noticing some moisture in the moisture trap, open this up, empty it out over a sink. It's going to be full of gross water, kind of like an old radiator. but make sure you do empty it out, because if you don't, the rust will eventually wear away on the bottom and just leave a hole in the bottom of the compressor, which, whilst you're not using it, is kind of annoying, and if you are using it, very dangerous. So this is what I normally recommend. However, I've gone through a few of these, like different brands. Airgoo is a new brand. I've never had an Airgoo one, but I've had like Fengder or whatever. But I go through one of these probably like once every 2 years. Eventually, either there's an issue with like pressure, it gets really hot, the engine dies, or just the pump doesn't work or whatever. So should I be really recommending one of these if they are going to die every 2 years? I don't know.
So I've got the new compressor installed. It is under the desk rather than on the desk, which obviously is going to make a big difference. I painted the other model twice. So I'm going to paint something different for this one. I'm going to paint the Veil Touch Lord on bike. So already you can see, even just spraying onto the mat, there's so much pressure behind it compared. Spraying quite thick paint, like I'm using it straight from the top. This is going to go on really nicely and really smoothly. Whereas before we had to water both paints down no matter what, even though it's an air paint designed for the airbrush. Because the pressure is very low, we had to thin it down a bit so we could get it to like spray in a direction we wanted to. Now I've got it a lot higher, which means a lot more paint's coming through, but in a wider cone. It means I can hold the airbrush a lot further back, still get decent coverage, but cover more area, for which for base coating, it's just going to save you loads of time. But now I've got like a nice slow airflow, and I can literally draw lines. You know, building it up ever so slightly. You know, we can just draw lines now. So let's put some hopscotch on this shit. maybe not hopscotch, but you know, it's like chalk. I'm trying to say it's like chalk light. So we got the white all down. We got some like crazy distinct highlights. It's not going to look realistic. I don't care. It's still going to look cool. As you might notice, I've got ink all over the back of my hand, and that's because I did the backflow where you put your finger over the end and blow the air to mix it together, because I had a little bit of water, and I forgot the inks are super thin. It went everywhere. So just be careful when you're doing that. Obviously, if you are trying to do backflow, just be careful, because it is going to come out relatively fast compared to a paint. It's supposed to be obvious. I'm supposed to be teaching you, and I'm making stupid mistakes. Anyway, God, it just wows me every time. You might be able to hear we've turned the pressure up ever so slightly, but the compressor is currently off, and it's just, obviously there's quite a lot of air in there because we're working from that canister, right? Now it's back on, as you might be able to hear. God, I love that it just works. It just looks so sick every time I do it. I don't know if it works on like this type of model, but like the effect of it is sick. I really want to like start a new army and just paint it like this. Do I start a Chaos Army bright yellow? That'd be pretty funny.
So what is there to say about the Airgoo luxury air compressor? It's pretty bog standard, and in bog standard this is the type of standard that I expect from an airbrush compressor. It's not gimmicky, it's got a consistent air pressure, it's got like a tank that it builds up to, and overall I've had a great time with it. I've actually painted not only this one bike, but I've also painted loads of Aussie Art Bone Reapers and loads of terrain, because I've been delaying this video for a few weeks because I keep forgetting about it. But overall, if I was going to recommend an airbrush compressor before doing this video, I would be recommending that one. Now, compared to the other two compressors, if you're a beginner, I'm starting to lean towards the Oasa, the smaller one, the desktop one, but this one is very, very consistent, and it's my go-to. So the next one is where things are going to get a little bit interesting. Now this is the Sparmax TC610H by Harder and Steenbeck. This is a £360 airbrush compressor. This is not cheap. This is not affordable. This is by far... I'm out of breath from bringing it upstairs. It's so heavy. This is by far the luxury, premium version of airbrush compressors that we've looked at today. This is the type of airbrush compressor that people who teach you how to paint and charge £100 a month will tell you need one of these to follow their tutorials by using their affiliate link. By the way, there's affiliate links for everything in the description. This is not sealed. As you can see, it comes in like a metal case. Now, inside, it looks very similar to the one we've just looked at, but it comes in a fancy case for some reason. Just to like stabilize it and to make it quieter, because one of the selling points is it's only 53 decibels. But it does just look like the air goo one that we've just looked at inside a box. So I'm not 100% sure that I'm completely sold on this just yet. Even like the on-off switch is underneath, you know. But it does have the pressure gauge on top. It has the valve on top. The first problem has already arose because obviously I'm in the UK. It comes with an EU plug and an adapter. Now I can't stand adapters. I'm an electrician and I used to work in a university. They aren't safe because they can pop out, which isn't very good. So that's already negative points for paying nearly £400 for this. The bottom of the case is bent and the plug is not even a UK plug. What am I paying for here? Luxury, they said. Luxury.
So for the Sparmax, I'd like to try and paint something a little bit different. I've painted 3 different Veil Touch miniatures. Now I'd like to try out a Gorkog. These giant flame things, which are like really, really sick. Yeah, the one thing I will say about the Sparmax is that the pressure control is a lot more responsive compared to the other airbrushes I've used so far. Is that worth 250 quid extra? Or even 280 quid extra? Let's try it out before I pass judgment, because I'm just not super impressed so far. So I will say I've just sprayed some water through. It's not quiet. It's not like right home to your mum about it being quiet. It's actually about the same volume as the one I've just used, the air goo. Anyway, let's try this one out. So what I will say is this one can build up to pressure a lot faster than the other airbrushes. Like, a little bit faster than the air goo one, definitely a lot faster than the other two, obviously, and the first one having no control at all. Like, just then I adjusted the PSI and it built up the pressure very quickly. Whereas sometimes you might have to like wait a minute for it to register. The pressure control is a lot more consistent, definitely. I'm going to freestyle now about the pink base coat, but I added some magenta to these like veiny parts of the wing just to break them up a little bit because I don't want it to be like solid yellow. So I'm just going to try and add like a darker colour before I do the highlight, and then I'll still go over everything with yellow, but I just want to see what happens if you do add like a darker pink to see the difference between bright pink like squid pink to this magenta. If we're going to use an expensive compressor, let's make sure we're using it right. So let's just try blending that up a bit. Maybe I'll drop down to a little bit of purple as well, like mix that in with the magenta. And now we just sprayed purple. I don't really know how that's going to turn out, but it feels like better that it's all like broken up a little bit. You know, so hopefully that comes off as like a different sort of like shading, which will look quite cool. I'm trying to like really precariously highlight the veins of the wing, because then we'll get like that subtle like overspill from the white where I'm trying to spray, and I'm hoping that creates like a cool gradient to like super bright yellow to super dark browny like gradient that we've been getting. But it is all a bit of a freestyle, so I'm not so sure it's gonna work or not. But I guess the only one way to find out is trial and error, right? I'm a bit nervous, but if it doesn't work I can just repaint it, it doesn't matter. So here goes. That works. It's a lot darker actually. It's a lot darker than it would be if it was just pure pink. And getting quite a nice gradient. Hell yeah! Fucking colour theory, bitch. That actually works pretty well. You know, I know like pink to yellow is such a cool way to paint yellow. But like, it's giving me giant wasp vibes. I was just thinking I could paint a whole Tyranid army like this, but I could also just paint a whole Gorkog army like this. This is actually pretty sick. I actually really like how dark the wings go. I could even go darker if I wanted to. I could just paint on like a deeper purple and then more ink or contrast and call it a day. That looks pretty fucking hype. I'm actually super chuffed with how that looks. Ah, giant yellow things, don't they just look cool? I'm in. I'm fucking in, baby.
So the Sparmax. Sparmax. It was really nice to work with. As I said, the ease of control for the PSI was really nice. Obviously, I'd be able to like change it on the fly. Like obviously the other ones you can change on the fly, but this just felt way more responsive and it got up to pressure a lot quicker when I was adjusting it. Like with the previous air goo, if I changed it, I have to wait a minute for it to catch up. Overall, it was sold as like a silent compressor and it's just as loud as the previous one. And I don't really see the benefit of the extra nearly £300 on top for basically just controlling the PSI a little bit better when I can just turn it and wait a second, then it'll catch up. Honestly, if you're working with an airbrush every single day, if you're a commission painter, if you are just like churning models out daily, then maybe investing in a high-end premium compressor is for you. But for me, who paints relatively frequently, but like probably like twice a week or something for a couple of hours session, I don't need to spend that much on a compressor because I've not found the difference. I'm pretty happy with the third one, the air goo or something of that level, because the extra money that you're spending for an expensive compressor, personally, I just don't see the value. Ultimately, this is just to help you, guide you to see which one you'd like. If you're curious about what compressors are available on Amazon these days, if I were to rank them on as a mixture as like affordability, usability, and just like general, is this good for me? I'd start with, if you are brand new to airbrushing, buy the Owasa, the £40 one, because that's like a nice beginner area. It's pretty decent for what it is. It's quite cheap when it comes with a free airbrush. If you are a consistent airbrusher and you airbrush a couple of times a week, grab the air goo or something similar, around £70 or something like that, because they are pretty consistent, they're pretty nice, they last a couple of years. And maybe the Sparmax, if you are like a commission painter, that's for you. It might last longer than like a compressor that I'm recommending, like this air goo one, like this cheap knockoff brand, but ultimately it's a machine that just pumps air. It can't get too fancy. And if you're looking at the handheld one that was 10 quid, buy it as a joke. Otherwise, that's it. Thank you so much for watching. Again, I've left links to all the compressors down in the description. And once again, thank you to Wargaming for sponsoring today's video. You can use my link in the description and use code Hellstorm at checkout for a discount. I'm a convert for this storage solution where my miniatures don't get damaged. It's super quick to apply, and they're ready to go to transport to my studio, to tournaments, whatever. I love them and I want you to love them too. So use my link to get 10% off. But otherwise, thanks to my members who are scrolling down here. Damn, aren't they beautiful? This could be you if you click join down below, but otherwise, thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.
So for the Sparmax, I want to paint something a little bit different. I painted 3 of the Veil Touch now. I would like to paint. So there's anyway, all right, let's try again.